Hi, I'm Leanne Pearce. I'm a portrait artist and I live in the UK in the northeast. I was originally born in a place called Grimsby and I've moved and I've lived here for about 20 years. So I came to live in the northeast after doing my degree in fine art and I've stayed here. And so the question is about my upbringing and has it prompted any specific reference point for my work, which is quite an interesting question. I've never really thought about that before. But I do a lot of work around breastfeeding and celebrating women's work and motherhood. And when I was a younger person, when I was 14, my mum had some more children. She had two, my brother and sister. And I specifically remember going to an event where she was asked to speak and encourage other women to breastfeed. And I guess in a way this has stuck with me. And, sort of 20 years later, I was also encouraging women to breastfeed too, through my portraits. So I did a whole collection of work called Breastfeed Portraits with Purpose, which are supersized portraits of mums who were feeding their babies. This collection of work has been exhibited all over the country and actually resides in places all over the world. So I also did a crowdfunder where I was able to raise funds in order to gift these portraits to some hospitals around the UK. So that's been really beneficial too. So my influences now are lots of things really. It's people's stories, it's women, women's work, unseen work that women do in motherhood. But I'm also influenced by lots of other artists, lots on Instagram. A really famous favourite of mine is Jenny Saville. Her work is exquisite. It's so beautiful. And now, at a later stage in her life, she does depict motherhood as well in a really dynamic, innovative way. Her work is innovative, but it's quite traditional. I think she does something really special. So it's definitely worth checking out Jenny Saville. There are lots of challenges to being an artist. There are obviously lots of challenges to life too. Sometimes challenges for me are working alone can be lonely. But you have to get a support network around you. And I kind of do this through Instagram. Other artists on Instagram are so supportive and I try and return that too. We message each other. We always comment on each other's work and make sure that we're geeing everyone up because I think we've got a deeper understanding of our life and our lifestyle and that we need that connection. I often work with my husband in my studio as well, who doesn't do anything creative, but he's there, so that's quite a nice presence. And I make sure that I get out of my studio once a week and do a pottery course, which I absolutely love. I guess the other challenges are rejection. This is pretty big. I reckon that we all get quite a lot of rejections when we're sending our work off to competitions and exhibitions, and you've really got to lock that away in a box and move on because it's very stunting for your growth if you dwell too much. Luckily for me, I've got quite a rubbish memory, so I often forget that I've done it. So there are lots of challenges, but you've really got to work out some great ways of how to support yourself through them. So in terms of advice that I would give my younger self, it depends how young, but I guess to a specific point where I went to university when I was about 21, I'm now 41, I would I want to give myself a bit of a cuddle really because I was so shy and unconfident and didn't really know how to push the work that I wanted to do. I don't think that making portraiture was in vogue at the time, and but that's what I was interested in. I'm interested in colour, painting, portraits, and So I would advise myself to probably go to a different uni, really, which supported painting and not other art forms, because that is where my passions lie. And I would also encourage myself to go do other things to get a wider network, support network too. I don't think I'm overly experimental when it comes to using unconventional mediums or techniques. I often paint with oil on canvas and pencil and charcoal on paper. Occasionally in my paintings I'll add a bit of gold, which is potentially adventurous. I like a bit of neon as well. But I guess in many ways I'm quite traditional. So when I'm working in my studio, I love listening to audiobooks. I love doing two things at once. If I'm painting and listening, it's heavenly for me. I'm a bit obsessed with biographies and autobiographies. I really want to be able to branch out and listen to some fiction, which I do sometimes. But I've read every autobiography going at the minute. I also occasionally listen to music, and I love a bit of Florence and the Machine. I always listen to Radio 4. I don't really like silence. So I think a lot of my work is quite emotional and emotive, and I guess the best response I've ever received on quite a few occasions actually is people crying when they see it, which makes me cry because I'm a very emotional person. Not so long ago I was exhibiting my work, and a guy was really kind of immersed in looking at the work, and I went over to talk to him, and he had tears in his eyes, and I didn't quite know how to respond to him. But he then talks about his experiences when they lost a baby. So that was sort of really significant to me. I'm sort of seeking those reactions, but they are quite difficult to handle, and I want to try and handle them with as much care as possible, because it's really responsible. It's a responsible job that I'm letting myself into here. So when people view my work, I'd love them to see something new or use it as a conversation starter, to trigger new thoughts or open themselves up to other people's experiences. I've just completed a collection called Breastfeeding the Brave, where I've painted families who have poorly babies in a clinical setting who want to breastfeed or are breastfeeding their babies and their experiences of that, which is quite a difficult subject matter, but it's really important to show that these things are happening behind closed doors. And when families allow me to paint and represent them, it's really significant and important, because it's really a big truth for them. It's private. So to let me in and to let other people in is really important. So thanks for listening to my interview. My name's Leanne Pearce. My website is leannepearce.co.uk. Loads of my stuff is on Instagram, which is at Leanne_Pearce_artist. I've got an exhibition on at the moment until the 28th of May 2023, and that's in a place called Bishop Auckland in County Durham, and it's in the Castle. There's a project called The Missing Women and Breastfeed the Brave. Thank you.